Hello, everybody. Scott Golden here with the NXT review for the 26th of October 2010. Not exactly the best show, not exactly the worst show. It is what it is as far as the show is concerned. But to be fair and to be completely transparent, the women's show is probably the worst of the four elimination. I believe it's four elimination series on this particular program. We will eventually have all five or 600 NXT versions available or episodes available in review form, so you can choose what's worth watching. We've also got over 1,500 audios, probably going to have close to 200, 2,500 by the end of summer. That's the goal, and eventually become the largest version of these streams that are available in general. This uses the Hamburger Helper hand, this particular episode. Yes, I said the Hamburger Helper hand. Without a doubt, a interesting, pathetic attempt at some form of humor by WWE at this point. Needless to say, not exactly the greatest of entertainment value here, but you have certainly some, basic things in the beginning here, and I've watched up through a midpoint in season 4, so we're probably going to have those up this holiday weekend. Again, 4th of July weekend in the United States. Welcome to those of you who are celebrators of stay safe, stay healthy, and all that good stuff. Anyway, a Halloween edition. Um, Naomi as the Hamburger Helper hand. Maxine as the Ice Queen. Lana as some sort of devil, which is revealed in the weeks to come. She kind of is dancing around. They kind of do promos about their costumes and why they chose their costumes. It's goofiness, and I can't imagine a live crowd really enjoying this. Hopefully, they're paying for decent wrestling elsewhere. But again, I do realize that in fact, the process of national wrestling at this point in time had passed me by. Vicky Guerrero is mocked here by her pro Caitlyn, and it's here. AJ's trying to be a superhero, superstar sort of thing. Ted DiBiase in the back, continuing his feud with Goldust, complaining at Maurice. Maurice, of course, ends up being the Mrs. real life wife, but here she is Ted DiBiase Jr.'s manager, and there is complaint to be had about the nature of the losing of the $1 million belt, which is, I guess, fine for what it is. Bragging rights upcoming on pay per view, and I can't imagine anybody cared, but regardless, that is kind of where we end up going here. And certainly, Maxine is in a tag match here. These women are all thrown together on the show just to fill television time, and by far, it's here, and it's sad because I'm sure they're all working as hard as they can on trying to provide and perform compelling talent-related stuff. Alicia Fox out there, and she's, I guess, supposed to be some sort of cat. Naomi in there with the Ice Queen to start to start things off, and it's kind of there. Kelly is out there with her pro, and and kind of they're doing a tag match here. I don't know why they gave this particular goofy gimmick to Naomi when the plan was for her to do athletic things. Complaints from the um, immigration individual here. Anyway, Ice Queen character going pretty well, and taking down uh, Naomi. Naomi not looking good in this particular costume. Why they didn't give her something that was more, some sort of athlete or major sports star or something, being that she's so athletic. Kelly trying to cheer things on the outside, and that's not going well either. Anyway, Naomi cast over the top rope into the arena floor for her trouble. And again, here we go, off we go into the wild blue yonder of everything, and kick into the backside, as it were, of all that is in this particular endeavor. Anyway, so we go into brawling on the arena floor, which neither of these women is, I wouldn't say skilled enough to do, I would say ready to do at their skill level. We go back into the ring, and Ice Queen Maxine is still in control of all of things here. Actually, she's been in control of the majority of the match with Maxine or with Naomi. I don't necessarily understand why Naomi is taking the majority of this match from a offensive defensive maneuver. Anyway, finally, the match does end with Naomi pulling out the surprising victory. Surprising because she'd taken so much punishment. Anyway, so that kind of goes, and Alicia Fox is yet again disappointed in her pro, which seems to be a concurrent story. There is Oksana getting interested in her buttons, Goldust interested in his $1 million belt that he won from Ted DiBiase Jr., and issues there, kind of highlight packages from previous weeks, and kind of bringing things up to speed with the various individuals that are here. The immigration person basically is on Oksana again that her paperwork is not in order. Primo and AJ Lee against one of the Bellas, or AJ Lee against one of the Bellas. Primo out there with AJ. And again, why he's her pro, I have no idea. AJ kind of doing the Batgirl / Supergirl superhero sort of thing, which I think fit with her character at the time. Nice roll-ups and basic stuff. AJ Lee probably, before the Women's Revolution piece, other than Paige, might have been the best woman in the last 10 years until, the advent of the Four Horsewomen came along. So certainly AJ, I think, is someone who time hasn't necessarily forgotten, but we might have taken her for granted. And then, of course, the other Bella on the outside. Match is super simplistic, although that's what it needed to be at this particular time. Primo up on the apron, and a big lariat folds up AJ Lee, and the Nikki Bella is in Brie Bella in pretty complete control of things here for the majority of the contest. I know they're trying to treat the women with more respect at this point in 2010, but you probably wanted to give them a little more training and seasoning before putting them out there for matches that are this long, especially when you're reporting them as rookies. You don't necessarily want to go that far, that fast. Primo on the apron and cheering on AJ Lee. Miscommunication between the Bellas, and they go crashing into each other on the outside, which isn't good for business. Facebuster by Bella, and a victory over AJ Lee, which makes sense because they'd been around longer and certainly had, some degree of success. Ted DiBiase Jr. is angry at the loss of his father's $1 million belt. They do start doing defend WWE, stand up for WWE campaigns over the next several weeks, mainly because at the end of the day, when Linda McMahon was running for, I believe, Senate at the time, and the checkered history of WWE going back to 1982 was called into question here. Certainly, I wouldn't support anyone running for public office who is, in charge of a company that allowed some of the things they have allowed over the years. But WWE stars are trying to stand up for their company because I'm sure there were bonuses and also negativities if they didn't stand up for them. Halloween, candy eating contest out next, and I don't know why that needs to be a contest. Also, Hornswoggle out in a cowboy outfit like we're out of the Wild West. Anyway, um, man, to think that there will come a point where I have to do all 1,500 Raws and some of the horrible programming that was associated with that. Speaking of horrible programming, we turn things into a food fight here. Not a huge surprise. It is pro wrestling after all, and low bar comedy is the standard fare for Vincent Kennedy McMahon. And anyway, so, there's some miscommunication. Dolph Ziggler and Caitlyn are basically flirting with each other at this point. That's kind of there. They're also highlights of NXT brand on YouTube and on demand on Hulu and all this other stuff, which you have to think this takes production time to do. They wonder who the next to be eliminated is. Also, we've got Goldust and Ted DiBiase out there, Ted DiBiase Jr. out there. A guy who really, when I look at him in the ring, especially this Goldust feud specifically, but I certainly think who could have gone further, Oksana and Goldust versus Maurice and Ted DiBiase Jr., who looks like $1 million, by the way, here in late 2010 by far. Needless to say, the $1 million belt on the outside, and that is DiBiase's main focus, not even Maurice, who I can't remember at the time if they were doing a romance storyline or not. Obviously, with The Miz being revealed as her on-screen and real-life husband over the last several years, it's hard to remember. But and yet I can remember things from 1989 when I became a fan, and 32 years ago. But stuff from, half that is difficult. It's just the pacing is different, and the care for the product is different. Anyway, Maurice and Oksana square off. I think Oksana gets a little more cheers than normal because Maurice is frustrating and foreign and all that. Of course, two basically foreign ladies going at it here. We kind of see Ted DiBiase Jr. come in, and obviously Goldust comes in, and the better part of the program, at least for the next couple minutes, is here as, again, DiBiase and Goldust have a bit of a rowdy dow, and Goldust runs them over. Pretty basic stuff, but the aggression in going for covers, the aggression in trying to get victories, just a sign of respect, as it were, and it's interesting. Inverted atomic drop by Goldust. Goldust goes for the Bulldog, gets shrugged off for his trouble. Doesn't exactly end well for the black and gold superstar, but DiBiase kicks him to the outside, and they kind of continue going around about in that way. Is it perfect? No. DiBiase manages to take him to the buckle, and meanwhile, Oksana on the apron looks like she has a case of the vapors. Her facials and her ability to sell any sort of emotion need work. I don't remember her being much long for the program in the time post the NXT product. Anyway, ladies come back in. Oksana hits a clothesline, and Maurice goes out of her way to bump like $1 million for her, probably because of the tie-in of getting the show over, not because it matters. Oksana even messes up the drop-down punch of Goldust, which, if they're supposed to be engaged, wouldn't you think she'd actually learn how to do that properly? So there's a break of kayfabe there. Not that kayfabe needs to be wide open, but it is what it is. And the continuation of Maurice pulling Oksana back in. Oksana goes in and gets a small package for the win. as we close the month of October in 2010 on NXT. And we'll be back with more right after this.